Welcome to Garden Wise Adventures. My name is Malie, and today it's time for another video that shows what flowers are blooming in my drought-tolerant garden in May. Now, this is the 1st of June, and so we're a little bit late for May, but I will show you a bunch of pictures of all the things that we've missed because, of course, May is one of those months where so many things bloom, and it has been absolutely gorgeous. Now, I live in Utah, zone 6/7, and it's been a really odd spring. It's one of the first years where I've seen tulips and daffodils and lilacs all bloom together. So let's show you what's blooming right now, and I'll also show you what you missed. Actually, let's show you what you missed first. Now we're back to the present, the 1st of June, and I want to show you what is blooming right now. One of my favorite, well, two of my favorite flowers are blooming. We've got irises. We're kind of mid to near the end of the iris bloom, but isn't this gorgeous? I don't know the name of any of my irises. Well, actually there's one that I know the name of, and I'll show you that one. But we've got irises and peonies. So I love the color and textures of iris. And we're just barely starting to get into the Dutch iris. Now the Dutch iris is a bulb, and regular iris is a rhizome. Another thing I love about this border right here is the different colors of the foliage and textures of the foliage. We've got a grass there that also brings color and texture. This gorgeous plant right here, I can't remember the exact name. I'll see if I can look it up and put it on the screen. But this is a type of St. John's wort, and it gets gorgeous bright red buds and yellow flowers. And the buds and the flowers are on the plant at the same time for quite a long time. This glorious plant is one of my favorite shrubs of all time. This is a spirea, but it's not your normal spirea. It's a Spirea betulifolia, which is a birch leaf spirea. You can see that the leaves are a little bit of a different shape. Flowers are white, but this is one of those plants that you never have to prune. This one is 5 years old, and I have some that are, I think, are 10 years old that I have never pruned, ever. I don't cut the flowers off. It just stays looking like this until it goes dormant in the winter. In the fall, you get absolutely glorious color to it, and I'll see if I can find a picture of what it looks like. This is an Autumn Jubilee 9-bark. It's just got a little bit of a different color. The flowers are the same shape and color as the Little Devil, but I love the color of the foliage. And this is another one where it'll turn kind of a lime green in the summer, but in the fall you get glorious, glorious colors. A little deeper than the colors in the spring. And this is my peony. I think this one's called Whitecap, and I think it is just glorious. Look at this. This is the size of the flowers. So they're large flowers, and there's a lot of them. And I love the contrast of the flowers up against my Golden Falls redbud. Look at these leaves. I've had this here for several years now. It's really, really tiny. It's a weeping redbud. It's not going to get very big. And the leaves, these yellow leaves, I thought they would scorch and burn up in the sun. So this is south facing with no shade whatsoever. And I haven't seen these really scorch that much yet. Maybe 1 or 2 leaves around the edges, but it's absolutely gorgeous. And it still has the same gorgeous red-pink flowers as regular redbuds. It looks like our Black Tower elderberry is going to bloom. Actually, we've got a ton of buds on it. Now this will form edible flowers if you have a pollinator, and I just planted a Jonade Serenade in my backyard, which is also a Sambucus nigra, which will pollinate this. But it might be too far away. We'll see what happens. What I may end up doing is next year, when the Jonade Serenade is old enough to flower, maybe I'll bring some of those blooms over here and stick them in a glass of water and let the bees do their job. Then we've got our little tiny Sundancer daisy with an unwelcome guest. I don't know if you can see that guy. Grasshopper nymphs are going to be a huge problem this year. There's tens of thousands of them all over the place. And the Nolo bait that I like to use that seems to get rid of them is not available. Next, we're going to look at this glorious, glorious catmint. This is one that has not died to the ground over the winter, and I'm going to be publishing a video here shortly from a property that I went to visit that shows what drought-tolerant landscapes look like in Utah. And he says he has a catmint in an area that he does not water at all. But what he does so that they don't flop is he cuts them back all the way just before they bloom. So he doesn't let the first bloom happen immediately. He cuts them back, and he says that keeps them really compact and they don't split in the center. Let me show you one that's split in the center. This catmint, now this is a Walker's Low. There are smaller ones that don't split, but this Walker's Low has split in the center because it got so large. And they seem to do that every year, and if you leave them, they'll just grow right back from the center. But I think next year I'm going to try and cut them back before their first bloom and see if we can make sure that it doesn't split. And it'll probably keep it in bounds a little bit better too, because this is kind of trying to take over all its neighbors. Now we're going to show you up next to my house. This spring was the first spring that I had daffodils and lilacs blooming at the same time, and it was glorious. So the daffodils, the deep purple lilacs, and this beautiful yellow lemony lace elderberry all blended in together, and it was gorgeous. Another iris that I love are the variegated iris. I love that silvery white foliage, and it just gives a punch of color and texture to your landscape. This is my front border where I have mostly edible plants. Although the beautiful white Dutch iris are not edible. This is the Chinese pink celery. You can see that it has a beautiful pink stalks, and it has tastes just like celery, just a tiny bit stronger. We've got tons of little pansies of all different colors. I love this one. This is, I can't even remember the name of this one, but I just threw a bunch of seeds out here and planted some seedlings that I had potted up that have done really well. We've also got some yellow chard. I just watered, so everything's laying down. We've got the gorgeous texture of the blue Ruffles kale and then the purple Ruffles kale. We've got snapdragons that are just about ready to bloom. It's going to be so gorgeous, and they're in front of my hydrangeas, and I'll have to put the name on the screen because I can't remember which ones these are. They're still little babies. They were planted last year, but they are starting to grow in. And then for when the pansies are done, I threw in a bunch of calendulas and some nasturtiums with their big, beautiful leaves. Along the stepping stones that goes up to my hose bib, I have some ice plant. And they're in two different colors. This one's fire spinner, and then I don't know the name of this one. Sorry about my shadow. But when you flip these over, pick one. The underside is this gorgeous metallic purple. So they're really, really pretty. Now this side, I didn't realize deer eat ice plant, but the deer ate this side completely out. So I dug up some from this side and planted them over here. Now onto the center. This was all planted last year. It's all filling in gloriously. We first start with the rock iris and the crocus, then come the daffodils, then come the tulips, then the foliage starts filling in, which adds a lot of texture and color. Then comes the lilacs in the back, and then finally the irises. Now this is the iris that I know the name of. This one right here is Batik, B-A-T-I-K, one of my very favorite irises with an immortality in the center. And then we've got a little dwarf iris right there that I'm going to split this summer to put on the other side, and that's reblooming just like the immortality. It won't rebloom this year because I'm going to split it, but it's coming up. And then we've got some white lilies that are starting to get buds on them that I transplanted here last year. These right here are my drops of Jupiter oregano that is fast becoming one of my very, very favorite plants. It's got a chartreuse foliage and gorgeous pink blooms in the spring. I really, really love the blue oak grass. It gives really, really good texture and color. I've got 3 of them. And then we've got a platinum sage, a very drought-tolerant sage that's down there. We put a ton of different sedums in here. This is called, I think he said, Blue Pearl. This is another sedum that's going to be a little shorter than the Autumn Joy that I have back there. But it will flower with a pink flower and have large blue kind of pink leaves on it. I really don't know the name of this one, but it has a dark pink flowers. This one tends to get a little bit leggy, so I'm looking for a darker foliaged sedum that doesn't tend to flop. I'll put the name on the screen of this thyme, but this is a wonderful thyme. It's got a variegation to it that I absolutely love. Next to the Angelina sedum that's yellow. More lavender, and then poppies that are just about ready to burst open. Last year I had orange ones here. I'm not sure what color they are because I threw a bunch of different seeds out. We'll see what color they end up being. We once again planted my dark purple alyssum, which will get huge and beautiful. The partridge feather that I thought died and was gone survived the winter, and it's coming back. We're going to have buds on my hummingbird mint here shortly. This is Zauschneria. And then the fun stars of the show. Look at all those strawberries. We're going to have so many strawberries. Matter of fact, look how big they are. Let's go show you what's over here. Now it's not quite at the ripeness that I like. You know, we've got some green on the back. But I may have to start eating strawberries early because we've got quail and robins and children, neighborhood children that I've allowed to come eat strawberries here. And there's plenty to share, but I just want to make sure I do actually get some. Look, we've got more in here. Oh, maybe. Just going to give that a little more time. I'm so excited. We've got strawberries all through the front yard. This right here is my moonshine yarrow. It's doing beautifully. We planted my green stalk up all in strawberries. They're a little bit behind the strawberries in ground. We've got some pink calendulas and some of the light purple pansies that bloomed in here last year. They reseeded themselves and are gorgeous. And then some salvia for the hummingbirds on top. Now here's another favorite one. This is a penstemon called Candy Crush. And look how gorgeous that is. And you can see how the little pollinators, I don't know if you can see that guy, he just crawled into the flower. But these are beneficial insects like parasitic wasps and hoverflies. Really, really love these. There's a little guy back there that's flying around it. So it looks like a little native bee. My pawpaw bloomed, and we have tons of fruit on here, and a little ladybug. So hopefully you can see that fruit and the little ladybug next to it. See if we can get on the top here. So if these stay on the tree, we will have a lot of fruit this year. It's doing really well. This is a Davis pawpaw. It's been in the ground about 15 years. This is my sunflower pawpaw. It's doing really well. This is only about 3 years old. This is the first year it's going to go uncovered. And so it's been too young to flower yet, but I'm fully expecting flowers next year. It's quite pretty. It's a volunteer May night salvia that just comes back every year. And we're just barely starting to get blooms on the pine leaf penstemon. These survived the winter. They're still really tiny. They were a lot bigger last year, so I'm pretty sure they'll fill in. And last year they bloomed almost the whole summer, so we'll see what happens this year. Got another peony. I planted it so long ago. It stayed so tiny. I think it was crowded out by the blue spruce that used to be here. But this year it's finally growing back in healthy and looking beautiful, and I love the flowers on this. Then we have my pots. I gave up on annual flowers in pots. I just can't remember to water them often enough. So I decided succulents and this beautiful purple sage would be what we're doing this year. The succulents survived the winter actually, except for one of the hens, the hens and chicks got eaten by the deer for some reason. The deer just pulled it out of the ground and ate it gone. But the rest of the sedum survived, and the sage survived also. Then we've got my hens and chicks that are covered by all the seeds from one of the elm trees across the street. Drives me crazy. I'm probably going to need to get a blower out here, but these all survived the winter. They're growing back in. I'm really excited about them. We've got a few of the sedum ground covers. This is my other pot that survived the winter. And lots of hens and chicks. I'm really starting to love all the different colors and textures that comes with the hens and chicks. And it seems like the real serious ease of growing them. Look at all these colors and textures. I love it. So that's an overview of what had bloomed in my garden in May, and I'm excited to show you June. I love gardening because it just changes every time of year, and you don't have to have thirsty, water-hungry plants to have beautiful color and texture. So that's what these videos are about, is showing you what you can accomplish with your yard. It can be tailor-made to your own preferences, but it can definitely be drought-tolerant and beautiful. Now my front yard, this is its second year. I planted it last spring. This is the amount of growth that it's had in one season. And last year I was watering it twice a week when I first planted it. Then we went to once a week. By the end of the season, we'd gotten to every 2 weeks. And then this year, I think we're going to try and push 3 weeks. I've only watered it twice so far. This is, like I said, it's June. I've only turned on the irrigation twice. Now the strawberries, I do go hand water twice a week. I want those to bear fruit. And to bear fruit, they do need more water. So I do hand water those twice a week. And I do hand water the newly planted plants. And I try to push those towards drought tolerance really quickly. Water them daily for the first few days, then I move to twice a week, then I move to once a week, depending on the type of plant. And then once they look like they've been established, I will push them until they start looking like they're going to droop. and look like they need water, and then I'll water them then. And hopefully by the end of the season they'll have caught up with everybody else and we'll be able to water them all at the same time. Now I would love to hear what your favorite drought tolerant plants are, where you live, and what you're planting. Hopefully this video has been helpful to you. If it has, I hope you like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and go have a wonderful garden adventure.